CALLERLAB 32nd Convention in Louisville, Kentucky, Tuesday, March 22nd. Partner session, speaker Tim Marriner.
Well, thank you, gang. First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all this morning. I know it's a wide-eyed, bright-eyed sort of thing, first thing getting up, and we don't have donuts and coffee and all that good stuff, but hey, we can stretch and get ready for things. Bev asked me to talk to you about partners and anything that we can help with relationships and how it works with our clubs and how to interact with classes and whatnot. So I guess that's what we'll first start on. We'll just kind of touch on that, and then we'll go into some questions, and if we can have a little round robin of whatever it is that we want to discuss the rest of the session, that's probably how we'll handle it. If that's okay. Is that okay? Okay, all right. All the heads are going, yo, 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 yo. All right. Oh, thank you. Just and nodding to sleep, are you? Good. First of all, a partner in today's vocabulary, it can be a lot of things. They're the old stereotypes of used to be the male was the caller and the female was the partner, and they were always there supportive and whatnot. That's been the stereotype in our activity for a lot of years, but things have really changed, and now it can be a significant other. Sometimes the partner's not the spouse, and in relationships it could be that the female is the caller and the male is the partner, and all the different variables that go into that equation today. And that's true with our society too, how that works and how it handles. So we are just a reflection of what society is in that regards. So when I think or when I discuss or talk about partners, it's really a balance. And you have to come to that balance, and it just evolves. You just, as time passes, you develop a sense of balance and how much or how little involvement you want to be in a part of this activity. You can be in the limelight, on the stage, doing backup vocals, or you can be in the shadows, working, doing things, and kind of really moving things, the mechanism or the mechanism rather to really get things going and working well, or you can have nothing to do with it. All right, so there's a various degrees of how much involvement you wish to be a part of it. It's up to you, and you and your partner will develop that balance. I can't stand up here and tell you how to do it. Okay, there isn't, because if that's the case, then everybody would have a partner and everybody would be happy and it would be everybody doing the same thing. But it's not so. Our personalities are different. That everybody is going to be different. Their unique relationship is going to be different. All right, so I'm not going to dictate how you should do it, because I don't know. Okay, I really don't know. But it's just a balance. It's something that happens. It's a chemistry. And I know and see most of you out here, and I can tell you how that balance interacts with a lot of you. I know how it works. Some of you I don't know, and I'm not sure how involved you are or not. You see, so really the choice is yours. And you have to be communicating to each other to figure out how much you wish to be involved, too. It just doesn't happen overnight. You have to communicate. Just like a relationship doesn't happen overnight. You have to communicate. If you wish your partner to do more or little, you have to let them know that, boy, I wish you would come to this session, or I wish you would come, and then the other partner would have an idea of how much involvement you wish to be a part of. Right? So you're going to create that balance. But the biggest key is communication. And I see a lot of partners and relationships, I do as well, that fail mostly because of a lack of communication. And partnerships even in business because of communication problems. Sometimes it's a matter of just picking up the phone and saying, we've decided we're going to do this. and we just feel like we need to do this action, or we're going to take this action, or we're going to be a part of this event. And don't take it personally, but we want to be a part of this event. And by communicating, even in business relationships, the other people at least know where you stand. And it's not something that they just see on a flyer that shows up on the table somewhere, and you look, oh, they must not want us to be a part of them because we're not. We're not a part of that organization, or we're not a part of that group. And so a couple has to work that same way. And you have to communicate. It's so vital. More oftentimes, as I said earlier, it's a lack of communication that is going to tear things apart. I can't read Donna's mind. Okay? She's not reading my mind, but we do have a sense that we know when one is hurt or one is happy or joyful. I know when to approach the partner for something, as you do too in life. You know when the best time of the day is to discuss something of importance, or you know the best time of the day that this person reacts to adversity. And knowing those things and knowing how those things interact between the two of you will be a leg up on the whole situation of this activity. Because it's the same deal. It really is. However much involvement you want to take and be a part of it, you can get involved and have a great time with it. I think as a team you can do a whole lot more. I really feel that. There are some people that don't work that way. They are, whether it's an ego situation or they've been doing it this way for 30 some odd years or however way, and they just don't have any room for any other person to get involved with them. There's folks that are that way. But I do think that, and I've seen teams who have worked really well together in areas. And it's fascinating because at home, I'm a home caller. At home, I have a group. I have classes I teach, and I'm just a regular average square dance caller in that area. And it's great because and it's a puzzle. But really, it's because of the social networking that is going on that the partner and the caller can provide the group. Any question? Anytime anybody wants to interject anything, please just go, because we'll just pass this microphone along. Be glad to do that. But so your club or the group at home can be as involved, you can get as involved as you wish with it. Then stems the idea about classes. What involvement does a partner take when it comes to new dancers? I think that the energy that you can provide or the excitement that you can motivate your group is necessary to motivate those dancers to be worker bees, to work for you, to go out and recruit people. If you take an interest in the folks, if you take an interest in the social side of the club, then they feel like they want to bring more people in to help you. They're really kind of helping you. And in a way, that's what you help. That's what you hope happens. You wish to have that help, but you have to provide the motivation for them to get out and to go out and want to recruit for you. All right? It's a funny thing. People, and you know it, people will walk up to you and say something to you that they wouldn't tell me. Okay, as a partner, and I'm referring to if I have a partner, let's say Donna, there's people that will come up to Donna and will tell her things, good or bad. She's got to have the broad shoulders to take both. They're going to tell her things, good, and if she feels it's necessary for me to hear, she knows how to check the ego or not. Okay, she'll provide that input. If she thinks that I'm not getting a good reaction from the floor and I may be feeling a little down or I'm not feeling right about the dance, she knows that she can come up to me and say, oh, so-and-so just loved that singing call. They really dug that. That was great. And that was enough to kind of pep me up to get ready for the next tip. And or here, I think you need a flashlight, dear. So at any rate, the idea here is they're going to provide or tell or confide in her things that I won't hear. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's sometimes bad things. It's like, that man you got to tell him he's got to, tell him to either slow down or tell him that the new dancers don't need to grip so hard. They're really hurting my hands and whatnot. And you wonder, why couldn't they tell me that? That's a puzzle. Because I'm just a guy on the stage. And the partner is on the floor and is more accessible. And this is so true, because when I finish a tip, depending on the type of dance that we're doing, the microphone goes down and I'm out on the floor wanting to chit-chat with people. But you've seen it. As soon as you put the microphone down, somebody comes around you and dominates your time. And that's difficult. And you have to know how to shoo them off so that you can go on and do, and see how everybody's doing. Or you can stand there tip after tip after tip hearing their latest joke. And it's just a fact. And they're everywhere. They're in every region. You get off the stage and they think that you need to hear the latest joke. And you sit there and laugh because you've heard that same joke from every other group that you've been to. And you just go, oh, yeah, oh, that is so good. Yeah. Where'd he put that thermometer? I don't know. Kind of like the flashlight. So the partner is definitely more accessible on the floor, mostly because they're out there. They're being asked to dance. They're on the sidelines. They're helping with the door, or they're helping and doing other things. Whatever role that the partner decides, in whatever degree of involvement they wish to partake. There's some roles. Sometimes the partner doesn't want to handle money whatsoever, or they don't want to handle anything else. They don't want to be the one to have to put away chairs or have to set up sound. It depends on again, what role you wish to partake, the balance, and how much you feel comfortable doing. Because you certainly don't want to be taken advantage of. And there are situations where groups will just, they're always there, let's let them take the money. Well, that's not right. That's not right at all. That's kind of taking advantage of the partner. Just because they're there, well, let them handle that. They're always there. I know, for example, here's an interesting thing, and it's more of a family relationship situation. My parents, because they had to drive me to the dances, were always there early. So they were always the ones setting up chairs and taking down chairs, and they quit because they were really tired. When I finally could drive, there's like, whew, we don't have to set up another chair. We don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. So really, you have to be careful not to get taken advantage of, all right, in some situations. And again, you have to communicate. You can either take it and they'll keep rolling and using you, or you can stand back and say, I've done this a few weeks now. Let's have so-and-so do this so I can have a chance to mingle and do some other roles that I wish to take tonight. But communicate it. If you say nothing, that's what you get. You're going to get the same thing. Okay? Any questions? Any comments? Anything that we can go from here? Yes, please. State your name, and the microphone will come your way.
Pam Clasper, Toronto. On that issue of getting taken advantage of, I think it's very important that the caller be prepared to speak up on behalf of their partner. Good. Because otherwise, exactly, it's communication. But particularly if it's a board run or club run organization, they'll take that kind of stuff from the caller much easier than they'll take it from the partner. So again, the teamwork and that. But I think that's a place where the caller should be prepared to speak up.
Exactly right, and that's a difficult thing to do too, because we think, oh well, we're so involved the programming of the dance. We're so involved with how the dance is going, the peaks and ebbs of the cycle of the dance. Don't interfere with what I'm trying to do up front here, you know, that sort of thing. Sometimes we put up a wall thinking, we're calling, and that's my job. You're going to have to handle your job. That's your job. So that's difficult, but you have to communicate that. Say, you need to help me here, and then I can, or the partner can take on that role to help, to assist, and to alleviate those types of problems. Communication, boy, is the biggest word. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Bev Sutter, Chair. In lessons, in classes with your new dancers, have you ever had to go up to a couple or a person and say, you know, you've about absorbed as much as you can, and we want to move on, and or whatever you have to say to them, and you're going to have to quit? Have you ever had that situation where you've had to do that, and how did you handle it, and what did they react to?
That's I think as role as a caller, I would do it. But again, it depends on how the relationship is of the partner dynamic. Yeah, and that happens. You see, but we'll get to your question in just a second. Let me go right into this first. The question is, how would you handle, or how can you handle, or what dynamic how would you, in a relationship or a partnership, handle a situation if somebody is just not getting the material? You can ignore it, and the situation will just continue on, and people will complain, and people eventually will quit because this person's their proficiency isn't as good as the rest of the group, and they're just hanging and holding everybody back. That's a problem. You have the right to go up to them and help them and say, look, between the tip, can I help you with thus and so and so and such a call? That's one way of trying to have or provide an extra workshop session. Or, you know, if you could get a square of dancers together, we could go over that material or those materials that you're not getting, say, and we'll have a little dinner, and we'll do a little workshop just for you. Now, that's one way of handling it, and it depends on the severity of the problem. If the people have decided that they wish to come every other lesson, or they've missed 3 weeks and then they come and they've gotten ill and then they come back, and they really don't have a respect for the group as a whole because of their attendance being willy-nilly, then you have the right to say, show them the attendance sheet. Say, folks, this is only a 20-week course, and you have missed 6 of them or 7 of them. It's very difficult for me to educate and train you when you're not here. I would recommend that you would come back and we start this again the next cycle or the next session, or there's a group that's starting down the road and they're getting ready to start up, and you really need to jump with them to take this again so that you can become proficient and you do know the language. And I think that's one way of handling it, too. I've handled it bluntly by just coming up and saying, it also depends on the program of dance that you're working on. I've had a group of dancers who thought they were ready for advance but didn't know what a diamond was, had no idea formations, couldn't see lines or columns. And I had to go up to them after about the 3rd week of a session, a teaching session, and say, you know, if you don't know what a diamond is, if you don't know what lines are, if you're not you're just not going to be ready for this type of dance yet. And I have a fallback because you can come Thursday and we're doing workshops in the Plus program, and you can then become proficient. And when we're ready to have another session, have another go at it, and let's see if you can do it then. The reaction I got, one time, one of the couples said, "You're right." You are so right. Or it was really one of the couples, maybe the spouse wasn't getting, and I walked up to one gent and said, "You really don't look like you're having a good time out there." he says, well, you know, I'm only here, my wife wants to do it, and and you say, well, if you're not enjoying it, how are you going to be able to retain the material? I mean, you're coming in here like you really don't want to do it. And he says, no, you're right. And so they agreed with me, and as a couple, this wasn't their thing. I said, there's other couple activities that maybe the two of you will enjoy better, and it's equally as much. They said, yep, okay. So they took up bowling or something. I don't know, but they did. And then there was another couple who was very offended that I would pull them out and say that they were inefficient at anything, because really, when it comes right down to it, nobody likes to be a loser. Yet every time you open up the Pepsi cap and it says, please play again, that's just... So I close it and I open it again. Close. Doesn't translate, Doc-san. No translate. Gomenasai. Okay, but the idea here is that generally we as people, human beings, do not like to fail. And when you go up to somebody and say, you're failing or you're not doing well, their reaction might be, you're right, or you're wrong, or, you know, get out of my face. They could, and it could be of various amounts of degrees of problems that you're going to have to work on. You can do it as a couple. I like the backing of the club, because I certainly don't want the club to take that role on, because as soon as they start weeding out people without my opinion, next person's going to be somebody that I really think is good for the activity, or has good potential, and they start weeding and weed whacking and cutting out, you know, the problems. I really feel that as the dynamic between a club and a caller and the partners and everybody, you have to work as a team, and if before I was to go up to somebody and make that decision, I would definitely get the club officers together and saying, what do you think if we tell so-and-so and so-and-so agree, or they've been hearing the feedback too, then you're okay. There's no problem. There's everybody. Because I could make the mistake and cut somebody out because they weren't doing well, and it's the brother of the officers or somebody relation, and now I've created a riff, you know, a problem. And so you have to be really careful when you walk those lines. Now, would I expect the partner to do it? I wouldn't. But again, depending on, like you say, who's more dominant in the...
Just passive aggressive. Don't go dominant thing on this.
Okay, that passive aggressive thing. No dominatrix stuff here then, huh? All right. So that's the idea. I think you need to work together as a club and as a couple or a partner in that particular situation.
The two situations I'm talking about that happened to us is, one, we had a gentleman come. I don't want to say that he was mentally handicapped, but he was slow, very slow. And we got to a point about the fourth week, he couldn't remember what we did the first week. And so I had to say, you know, you've probably absorbed as much as you can at this point. Can you come back next year and go over this again, and then you'll be able to pick up and do the next part? And he went around and told everybody what a mean four-letter words that, you know, that I was, and I was rude, and well, I wasn't rude. I tried to tell him there's another option. Another couple missed 3 weeks in a row after the fourth week, which by then you got a lot done, but you're still doing a lot in those 4 weeks. And she had told me then, she said, well, sometimes we can't come because he gets headaches. He had an accident and has brain damage. Okay, well, he's not handling this because whatever he damaged in his brain is not picking this up. Maybe that's why you can't come every week. So handling that as finesse as I could. The club had asked Dave and I if we would see what we could do about either getting him to come to more sessions, you know, show up on time and be there for the class, or leave. And we decided that between us and the club, the officers, that did, I don't want to say it this way, but they had to go.
you know, let's see where that name. And pick up the next call. But they were very understanding, and that's all you can hope for. We had 2 comments back here, too, we wanted to get to. It's past.
No, you was this.
It's okay. It's just, we really
This is Barbara Wedge. I was going to ask, after you talk it over with the club, do you ever consider having the club talk to these people instead of you?
Yes, that's another way of handling it. Okay. Right. No, and that is another way of handling it. You make a decision as a board between the couple, your partnership, and the club, and then you have to decide, all right, who's going to tell them? Who's going to tell them? Am I going to tell them, or are you going to tell them? I have had presidents who were very good at handling that type of situation who said, oh, no, I'll handle it. Don't worry about it. Don't want you to worry about it. We'll take care of it. And that's very nice. I've had officerships, though, who didn't want to handle any of that sort of stuff. And then they said, would you take care of that for us? You have to take care of it. You have to step up the plate and take the medicine, too. And that's, again, it just depends on who the officers are and how you want to handle that.
Steve Green, Salem, New Hampshire. You know, the dynamic of the whole thing that you were talking about from the start is the whole communications thing. I don't really get really involved in the business end of when Patty decides to take a club or whatever it might be. But I would assume that the initial conversation with getting hired by a club to teach their class, those kind of communications things would take place at that point. Who's going to handle the dynamics of whatever the problem is that might occur, so that you don't have to be putting out fires while you're trying to educate your program. And the whole dynamics of today's school, where you've got a program that's going to be developed in however many weeks and whatever period of time that you're going to teach it in. You know, all those dynamics work into those decisions, and all those.
And that's right. And again, it's communicating with your leaders, the clubs that you're working with, so they have an understanding up front. It's kind of like a Bill of Rights. The dancers have a Bill of Rights. They have the right to learn in a clean environment. They have the right to get a education, because I'm going to have to provide them the best quality education and calling that I can to teach those dancers. And again, there are dancers' bills of rights. They do have some rights in the dynamic of the organization that we have in our activity. At the same time, there's respect and whatnot that the couple and the partnership has too, and that is a gray area. At times it's crossed. And you know, even in the introductions, they normally introduce the caller. They don't introduce the partner, right? And so when I get up, I have to make it a point, and sometimes I have to remember to make that point to introduce Donna, and so that she's due the respect of what I think she's provided, or I should provide to her too. And that's important. Even to the point of, and this is again, however much involvement you want, do you put the name on the business cards, or do you do it as a team? Do you advertise together as a team or not? I've seen people do it both ways. I know some successful couples that do party dances, and their team. One is on the floor interacting, doing and teaching lines and whatnot, and the other one's doing the circles, the mixers, and the squares. And so they advertise together and put their name on the business cards, and they have the sheets and everything that they are a part of that's a joint picture and that type of thing. So however much involvement you wish to do, again, it's up to you. If you want to be on that card in the limelight and doing, you can. Or you want to be in the shadows and take a back seat approach, then it's their job. Okay? But you got to be really careful with this. You have to be careful with the situation. That's your job. I don't want any part of it. Because now you've divided you're doing that and I'm doing this. And when that happens, you start parting the ways. That's your job. This is my job. Okay, that's hard to keep that, to link that together, because you're going to then do whatever it takes to get you successful at it, because we don't want to fail. So we're going to do everything it takes to promote, to go, to do and do. Next thing you know, you're booked 7. It's very difficult on a relationship and a partnership if they're not involved. It really is. And I cringe when partners or callers, and I hear this a lot, where they're going to take an extra day just to go out and rest and to get out there first so they can have an extra day. That's daytime away from you as a partner too, right? And that's not good in a relationship. So you really need to be careful of those sorts of things, or you will divide the line, and that's your job, and this is my job, and it will eventually become, I'm going to go a day or two early so I can rest, and I'll get out there and drive, and then you wind up, instead of coming home as soon as the event is over, I decided to take in a movie, and the next thing you know, you're really dividing your relationship and growing different directions. That's not healthy, all right? I really enjoy Donna's involvement in being able to travel and to be a part of the groups, because, we're in love, okay? And I want her to be with me, companionship. It's we've had some trips, I got to tell you, that were just disastrous, worse than putting up wallpaper. Okay? But I know people who say, if you can survive wallpaper, you can survive anything. Well, we've had trips worse than wallpaper. Luggage doesn't show up, and you have yours, but they don't have theirs. Okay, or vice versa, as in this last case, right? Donna had all her things. I didn't. Okay. And yeah, I was a bear. Sure I was, because I didn't have my clothes. I had to perform, not without clothes, but I mean, I had, in street, in street clothes. In street clothes. But, so I enjoy that. There are times she has a real job, okay? And there are times where it conflicts with my hobby, okay? And so we have to balance that out, too. There's times when I need to compromise and do something with her that she likes, because she's compromising a lot and having to do things that I like that I'm a part of. So there is a balance. And you need to take that. We're talking relationships here for the most part. I'm not a Dr. Phil. So that's a tough situation, let alone if you're in a 2-caller family. Okay, and there are situations where that occurs too. And how do you balance that? They want to hire one and not the other, or they wish to hire both, and that's good. But maybe you're both hired for the same weekend, but other ends of the country, or other ends of the county or state, what have you. So again, you have to know how to balance that. That's got to be really tough to do. Microphone, tell me who you are, and yeah. on one second.
One of the things that we've always said is we started out high profile, and everyone in our association already knows who we are as separate individuals. Andy's the one who's more outgoing and collects the money. I'm the one who makes the reports. I used to get a lot more microphone time than he did. That's another one of the balance arguments that we have, is who gets the more microphone time. So we've already started out in our association with separate identities, but you're right, I will need to watch and make sure that I don't lose that.
You mentioned the caller and the queuer living in the same house. A lot of times, Dave's a caller and I'm a queuer. We go places and I'm not hired. I don't care. I'm going to dance. Very seldom do they hire me without him. I've got the equipment along. I'm just an extra, a bonus. And if they want to hire both of us, it's the same fee. I really don't care when I'm going to be there anyway. So what monies we put together, it's ours. It's not his and mine. It's ours. And as far as different identities, since I've taken over this chairmanship, there's times where I'm more popular than he is. So it's kind of like, oh, you're Bev Sutter's husband. Used to be, oh, you're Dave Sutter's wife. Well, it comes and goes. It comes and goes. So I said in the orientation meeting last Sunday night, do your own thing here at CALLERLAB. Establish your own identity in this organization. You're not just their partner. You're you. So that's a balance there, too.
I think that's a step in a great positive direction. We have let's just say grant writing, okay, or maybe they are into bookkeeping or tax, and they can help in other areas, or maybe marketing committee, and they can, where the caller doesn't, but the partner can help out, and I think that's a good asset. It's kind of like equal rights. Yeah, we got equal rights. And so, yes, we're providing that for partners, and everybody can get involved that way. And you will and can establish, as Bev has done, the opportunity or the work that you feel passionate about, and you can work that avenue and get a name in doing that. That's a good thing for you, and for the organization, for that matter, too. At this point, we have some questions or any more comments that we have. We've got about 15 minutes, I think. Yes? Where do we go to? Tossed me a tough one. Really did. I've been doing this 32 years now, I guess, so 32, 33 years, quite a lot of years calling. And now I have to remember back when. But I do have bookings that happen that are in the future. I'm fortunate to be able to do that. Not everybody is. A lot of times you just get a phone call, are you busy next Saturday? And that happens, and they say, oh, yeah, well, come on in. We're looking for somebody to do our dance. 2008. But it's not every weekend. It's like shotgun holes here and there, because if somebody were to call me up and say, are you busy next Saturday? This Saturday, I would have to say, yes, I am. But there are some Saturdays or Fridays or what have you where, no, I'm not. Let's do that. But you have to balance that, too, because you have to have the family time. You have to have the partner time as well. Or you wind up doing this 7 nights a week. And not that dancers take advantage of you. That's not the point. But they really want you to provide them with entertainment at their program or their level. So if you're beginners, you have a beginner group that might meet opposite your club dance on another night. So there's 2 nights a week maybe you're working. Or it might be, it depends on how your club meets too, because your club could be twice a month and then you're meeting every Monday night. Then somebody says, you know, we've done this mainstream thing. Can you provide us a plus dance? Next thing you know, you're doing having a workshop night or a plus dance night. And let alone if somebody then says, well, we're interested in you calling advance. In order to get some of these festivals, they want you to have the ability to know how to call or advance. So in order to do that, you practice and you work up how to do advanced material. Oh, this is what you do. All right. So at any rate, where was I? I filled up the next thing you know, 7 nights a week have taken, and you didn't even realize they absorbed your life. You have no social calendar then, no time, no downtime for family time or for couple time or for partner time. So there is and you've got to worry about birth dates. You have to worry about anniversaries. You have to worry about holidays and celebrations that are important to each other. You have to block those items off the calendar right from the get-go, just like you would at an annual event. If you do the first weekend in May every year, you mark that off the calendar. You better mark off those birthdays if they're that important to you, too. Bev says that they do not have an August in their calendar because that's when they do most of their traveling and they do their downtime to rejuvenate and get their batteries recharged. Did I answer your question? How do I do it? All right. I told you I wasn't Dr. Phil.
I have been traveling with Tim for like 3.5 years. You say you do accounting type work, as I do also. I'm not sure in your job how much flexibility you have. I have quite a bit to be able to travel with Tim. There are times when he goes and I can't go. I don't like that. I don't like it. As a matter of fact, he's going to Japan next week and going to be gone 10 days. That's too long. Germany. That's right, Germany. I'm sorry, Dotson. But for 10 days, and that's a long time. And I don't like that, but I have to accept that. But he also has the responsibility of making me feel better about it and how sad he feels that I can't be able to go with him. It's very hard when you do travel and you want to travel and you want to be with him and you don't want to be apart to actually not be able to do that. But he does continue to book, and as those things come up, it's just situations you have to learn to accept and to deal with. Is that what you were asking?
And I think that was going to be a tough question because it was. We have more comments back here. Yep, and that worked for you. It might work for somebody else, but it might not for others. Again, that dynamic is always a variable. Was there one back here? Of course, and we'll come right back to you, okay? No, not usually. Well, yeah, we're not married yet. No, I think it's because it is the business side of it that I decide I want to do the negotiating, the handling of the books and the booking, and if it's not interfering with something that I think is important, then I'll not bother. I'll book it, or or decline it, every way I choose. But if I know it's, like, for example, I had a situation where it was over either a birthday or New Year's Eve or something, and I learned that on New Year's Eve I need to talk to her about that. What do you think about going to L.A. for New Year's Eve? And she says, well, if we're together, let's do it, if we can go. And so I booked it. But so, again, it depends on the time of the year, the event, and let me come right back, because she had a question. I'll come right back. Comment, please.
And he would say, let me look on my little calendar and see if that's free. If he had it marked out, he said, no, I can't do that. But I will go home and check the master book. That has saved us a lot of headaches. The second thing, real quick, we had 2 children, 2 years apart. One was in college, one was in high school. They were away from home. We were running, and my husband made the decision to back off for those few years. It was about 4 years. He backed off. He kept one Thursday night workshop to keep current, and because of that, our children today still respect him for that.
That's great. That's great. Question, comments? He's going to hear that tape. Pertaining grandchildren. See, and so that changes. So in relationships, you have to be aware of all of those things. We got some comments back here too.
Hi, I'm Terry Mallard from Canada. I was just going back to we're going to Japan and not being able to go. Actually, Tim, you're a full-time caller, right? That is your living. So that is your career. So in that case, you'd really have to consider, when he got an invitation to go to Japan or Germany or where, I think you'd have to consider that like when my husband was working and he had to go on a business trip and I couldn't go with him, that was his life. I mean, that was his income. So I think, you know, in those cases, you kind of have to consider where it's coming from.
Good, right. Good point. I'm sorry. Trying to get back here, running the microphone. Here we got back here, Steve.
Louisiana, and we do have sort of job assignments when it comes to the scheduling aspect of it. I do all of Lottie's bookings, and she basically deters anyone who asks her to me, but it gives us the opportunity. Many of her bookings come from someone hearing her at a dance, and so we don't always have the schedule book in hand and so on. So we usually ask those folks to contact us again after the dance, or give them the card, or get their card, or what have you, so that we'll have an opportunity to talk about whatever the other things that may conflict with it, and whether or not it's a good idea. It also gives us an opportunity to negotiate a fee a little easier than having the pressure of what's your fee, and there's lots of things that relate to fee.
Yeah.